Dungeons and Dragons Adventurer. Issue 8. Here we go. Issue number 8 then. With a nice looking dice and some stuff about mounted combat. Let's see what's inside. First up, we've got our dice. Not metallic dice like I thought, but it's still very nice looking dice with the all etched, and they've got the and Dungeons and Dragons logo on the normal top faces. So there's 6, not on the 4, but that's because it's different. Yeah, on the 10, on the 100, it is on the 00. Yeah, very nice, very nice. Then now let's move on to the magazine. Yeah, so in the contents, we looked at weapons and armor last time. Now we're going to look at tools to help us, plus alignment, which is something we haven't considered properly yet. Mounted combat, which should be interesting. Neverwinter, some other stuff. And as usual, the adventure exclusive to the issue. And it comes with a fantastic new set of exclusive red and black dice. Keep in your collection or give to your party member. Well, I've got quite a collection already, so I'll have to give it to someone in the party, maybe. Although I like them, so I'll have to give the boring ones to them. So start off with sizes, and creatures can come in all sizes, from tiny, small, medium, large, huge, and gargantuan. We also get how size influences combat space. So if you had a standard square grid, 5x5 feet seems to be a standard space which a character represents, because it says here an elf would be surrounded by 8 creatures, which would be all of the squares around it. Here you can see a good example of representation. All these creatures of a 5x5, and so you've got 8 surrounding 1. And then larger sizes would take up more space, 10 feet, 15 feet, so take up more squares, so you'd have less of them being able to surround the opposing characters. Some other bits of info is you can do squeezing, which is where creatures can move through a gap that's one size smaller than what they are, but they're vulnerable, so they move slowly, and attack and dexterity saving throws of disadvantage, and attacks against it are made advantage. And magical proportions, I was talked about going up or down in size. The only thing I mentioned there, you could make a ogre one size smaller to make it easy to grapple. Still haven't got the rules of grappling, so that would make more sense once we know how to. If we now move on to Spell Effects Part 2, previously, if you remember, we did it, and we did for spheres and cubes. Now we're going to do cones, lines, and cylinders. And it mentions Dragon Breath, which is good, because all of Dragon Breath, I remember, used to come in one of those 3 things. We have here our 3 areas, cone, cylinder, and line, and I'll give you some nice picture diagrams to help with it. They've used enemies for cone and cylinder, but for line, they've just put a load of dice in there. Not sure why they got the change. One small thing, it's just going to be copy and paste. For the cylinder, it just says, because of the way it's created, a sphere's point of origin is always included as effect. Whereas that says, they talk about cone and line, that's correct. So it's probably just a copy-paste thing, because the cylinder starts with a circle, so much of it's the same as a sphere. Anyway, we'll leave that for now, and we're going to move to mounted combat. I'm interested to read this, because I never really dealt with mounted combat before generally. Previously dealt with it in the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, where you could have your mounted units, and you had to deal with that because the mounts also got combat attacks, and you had to deal with other stuff. But generally, all my D&D games have always been in dungeons, so we're never really worried about mounted combat, or even mounts in general. So yeah, interesting to read this. Okay, so it's not a massive section of mounted combat, but it probably tells me everything I need to know. Starting with what happens if you're trying to mount, dismount, if you get knocked off the mount, if the mount gets knocked down, etc., etc. And also about controlling your mount, which is probably the more important bit. Some mounts are controlled, like horses, and all they can do is dash, disengage, and dodge in combat, and they act at the same time as you. Independent mounts, stuff like dragons or Pegasus, who are intelligent creatures and act on their own, they get their own turn order, and they can do anything on their stat block. And there's other bits like gargantuan creatures, you might try to ride them to attack them, so that will involve some sort of checks, and riding can be done. Cavaliers are mentioned in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which is the first mention, I think, in the magazine of this, even though it was mentioned a lot previous in the trial issues. And they're not a archetype yet we found, and you've got more about exotic mounts as well. Now covering alignments, so it's commonly well known there's 9 different alignments, and you've got the 2 axes, good to evil, lawful to chaotic. And it just explains a little bit about them there. And over the page, we can actually see there's 9.5 alignments. Down the bottom, they've got one extra. Unaligned for beasts and constructs who don't have any rational thought, basically. I always thought they were just called true neutral, but now they've got another one. But otherwise, you've got your 9 alignments where you sit in the chart, and it lets you know what each sort of alignment wants to do there. And our top tip, the alignments on the character is actually blank, so we can decide what alignment the characters to be based on how we think they should be or how we play them, probably. Over the page, we get the tools section. Make sure you've got the right tool for the right job. It talks about proficiency with tools or specialist kits. I don't really know what you might have apart from like thieves tools, all I can think of. But then again, some of the characters start with some other tool sets, don't they, that we've got. And actually, there's quite a few toolkits like disguise, forgery, gaming, herbalism, musical instruments, all of these artisan tools. Each kit or each item requires several proficiencies. So like each musical instrument needs a different one. The separate bits in the gaming set all need different proficiencies. I'm not sure how to gain proficiencies in kits. I don't think I've seen it yet. I'll have to double check just in case I've forgotten. But I imagine it's something where you have to spend time and money to practice it or something. I'll probably be covered at some point. And so we move on to character creation D. So it's a new section for backgrounds. Starting with the Outlander, which obviously refers to our lovely wood elf. And here we go. Irina is a wood elf fighter who comes from Outlander background. No alignment yet because we've only just discovered the issue, so we need to decide what one she's going to be. And so as it's not 1A and it's just one, it looks like all the backgrounds only get one page. So this is just probably all the text and descriptions and lore about each specific background. And then here over the page, we've got the more game related stuff. So a bit about how to role play an Outlander. We've got some top tips. So your backgrounds give you proficiencies and skills before you start the game, as well as other features, languages and stuff. And here it tells the Outlanders proficient in athletics and survival because they've been surviving the wilderness. Also a single musical instrument and an extra language of choice. And they have the Wanderer feature. As we can see here for Irina, she has the Wanderer feature, proficient in the pan flute, and survival and athletics, she's got proficiencies. Also picked Orc as the extra language. So moving on to the lore, and we're going to go on to Neverwinter. Once the Jewel of the North, but rent in two by volcanic eruption half a century ago, but rebuilt. And it tells you a lot of details. Neverwinter, as we can see here, lies in the shadow of Mount Hachette, which is what erupted and caused all the problems. And they've got some ties with Waterdeep, which is that way, not on our map, so we can't find it just yet. Probably Neverwinter's going to come up in our adventure this issue. Maybe, no, we've got the lore, who knows. But then Mounted might be, but then we'll find out. This is Dagult, Neverember, not Never Remember, and he's a Lord Protector Neverwinter. Not the royalty, kills off anyone who claims they are, but it seems like a good chap for actually ruling the city. Neverwinter is a city of opportunities, and it just talks about a lot of stuff like it's being rebuilt, half of it's empty, a lot of stuff going on. There's a place called the Shadowfell, which overlaps the material plane, reflecting the city of Evernight. And there's an adventure with the Icewind Dale, where you can get the Alagonda skill background, which means you have royal blood in your veins. Be warned, if Dagult learns of this, he's going to likely try to kill you. It doesn't mention the issue number here, so I'm assuming Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden, is just a separate adventure that comes external to the D&D base game. Let's now learn about the Lord's Alliance. And this is the nobility of the Swords Coast nations have all formed a coalition to protect the power and wealth against chaos and evil. Like the Open Lord of Waterdeep just here. Even though all the nobility have got their own agendas and notions, they'll all come together if anything threatens multiple nations at once. And there's a lot of effective cooperation and diplomacy among all the Alliance members. And during times of crisis, the cooperation is much easier as well, making them a powerful force. The Lord's Alliance, you can join it if you really want to. They've got some details there about how to be invited. Here's a list of all the current Alliance members. And it talks about Revel's End Prison, which is basically a joint prison, so all the Alliance send people to man it. And to go there, either you've got to commit a big crime against one of the members, maybe crimes against all of the members, or if it's less desirable for you to be placed in a particular prison somewhere else. Enough about that. Time to move on to today's encounter. And as usual, DM's eyes only, so if you're a player planning to play, use the chapter to skip ahead. Otherwise, let's go to Fun at the Fair. So this adventure is balanced for second level characters, so as usual we can use the ones included in the issues. And we've got Lady Dawn, who's a noble from Neverwinter, who's coming along, running a fair, but her life's in danger. So the encounter is going to be to make sure we can uncover the plot on her life, and then we get reward. Additional rewards for fairground games. So I've already mentioned Neverwinter. What do you reckon? There's some jousting in here. Let's find out. So to start, Lady Dawn, a patrician of Neverwinter, has arrived. And it's got stuff about meeting her. One thing it's finally got reference to previous encounter. So daylight robbery, which was number 4, which is to do with the noble boy. So I've still got no reference to whatever happened in the orc encounter, if you upset the town by siding with the orcs. But if you successfully complete number 4, she reveals she's a cousin of this boy. Says she wants to repay the favour, that's it. So even if you didn't succeed, there's no negatives. And if you did succeed, the positive just she wants to repay the favour. Unless I get something else later in the issue, that's it. Going, oh, I want to repay the favour. So all that hard work just for a bit of gratitude. But anyway, unsurprisingly, yeah, the last end of the day competition is going to be a joust for a prize. And the rest of the day, you've got stuff, archery, hog hurling, and battle of the bards. Archery and hog hurling are just to do with combat almost, so it makes it easy to do these events. So funny to note, the winner of the hog chucking contest gets a bacon sandwich. Yeah! Anyway, we keep going through the day, and then you're going to get to the grand tourney. And there's a little plot going on with Sir Mesa. You've got a chance to uncover it during the day. I think we'll get the results over the page, but all these will happen after the 3 events, so the heroes might uncover his plot, they might not, maybe. We've just got the stats here, so we've got noble stats in case they're like any NPCs in the contest. And Sir Bertolot is basically a level 4 noble by the looks of it, who's also good with animal handling and a lance. Yeah, finally. So you can confront Sir Mouser, you can win the tournament, victory and treasure, or defeat and death. It says that winning the tournament, you could go on the boar hunt, you could do some role playing for it. You can win favour, which is sure to benefit the adventures in future. I'm not sure why, because saving her noble boy cousin says she owes us a favour, and there was no mention of any favours she could do, unless you have to roleplay out. But it could be good to do it. And if you can win, you get a warhorse. The one thing I'm not sure about is a warhorse, because I'm not sure if it's intelligent. It's only got intelligence 2. So does that mean it's a controlled mount? But if it's a controlled mount, why has it got a trampling charge and a hooves action? Because controlled mounts don't attack. All they can do is dash, disengage, and dodge. So if it moves towards that and hits with a hoof attack, yeah, but they can't attack unless your warhorse is going to go attacking on his own. Hopefully they'll clear that up somewhere. Anyway, that was issue 8. So we move on to issue 9. This is going to have some boring normal dice, so I'll probably give them to the adventurers while I get to keep all my nice fancy ones. And we'll have some more stuff to do with bards and goblins, it looks like. As usual, when there's more videos about the issue, they'll be up there, but there'll be links to follow the series appearing there. And thanks for watching, hope to catch you soon.